Hypogammaglobulinemia is an immune deficiency characterized by the lack of sufficient immunoglobulins circulating in the immune system or in the body. This is not the same as an autoimmune condition. Hello everyone, my name is Kayla. This is the Kayla Dawned on Me channel. I really want to be transparent about my life and some of my experiences. One huge part of my story and my journey is my chronic illness. Goodness. Okay, let me pause the video. Okay, take two. Take 500 billion. Cut. I feel like I struggle to communicate sometimes when I'm put on the spot in front of a camera. Hi, I have an immune condition called hypogammaglobulinemia, and I want to tell you about it. I have a low functioning immune system, and my body has trouble fighting different bacteria, viruses, fungus, things like that. I just want to share from the get-go that I'm fighting this fear that I'm not going to say everything that I want to say. Also, it's freaking hot outside and this is my main place to film right now since I'm homeless sort of by choice. It's kind of that's a whole other story for another video. So I think I'm just gonna I'm struggling to make this video, so I'm just gonna start off by telling my experience and when all this started for me and kind of how I came about discovering, or how doctors rather came about discovering that I have this condition. In 2012, I started feeling very weird in my body. Started noticing changes like I had a chronic cough. My eyes started feeling uncomfortable. I would get dry eyes and they would feel like they were burning. Like whenever they weren't dry, they would feel like there was acid in them. Came down with something called pericarditis, which is inflammation of the lining of the heart, like basically the sac that holds the heart. I went to the ER several times. This is a long story short. I can go more in depth for sure in the future. Visited several doctors. I was so tired all the time. I would sleep. I remember sleeping like 20 hours a day at one point. I was living with my parents at the time. I had just gotten engaged to my ex, now ex. I didn't know what was going on. It was very scary. At one point I was like, am I about to go blind? Had elevated troponin levels. I was rushed to the ER from after an urgent care visit one day because they were like, okay, either you had a heart attack, you're having a heart attack, or you're about to have a heart attack. So if you don't have someone taking you to the ER right away, it has to be someone else because you cannot drive right now. We will send a ambulance to your parents' house to come pick you up and take you. And that was the fastest I had ever gotten into an ER. Didn't wait in the waiting room at all. Right when I came there, they were expecting me. I was rushed back. So much stuff. I can get more into all the little nitty-gritty details in the future, but basically for a long time I didn't know what was going on. I was feeling so sick, so tired. Like I said, I would sleep like 20 hours a day sometimes, wake up finally feeling somewhat rested, be able to feel kind of normal-ish for maybe like 20 minutes to like an hour, and then I'd feel extremely exhausted once again. Really difficult for me to eat anything. I remember my mom was really concerned about that. I couldn't sleep laying down, especially with the pericarditis. I would feel like I was choking. I used to be in men's weightlifting classes and all kinds of, I was doing cardio kickboxing at the time and rock climbing, and I was doing so much. And I remember something as simple as laying down in Shavasana during yoga. I could not do that because I felt like I was like choking on my own fluids. I had to sleep in a recliner sitting up for a long time because of the pericarditis. I get so dizzy walking down the hallway sometimes. I remember my mom like kind of holding onto my arm in the shower at different points because it was so hard to shower by myself without feeling like I'm falling unless I would like sit in the bathtub. Walking from the bedroom to the bathroom was exhausting. I didn't know what was going on for so long. Found out it was because it was 2012 when I had the onset. Tried all kinds of like, you know, eye drops, things for my stomach, my heart, just different things in my body. I'd noticed some changes in my skin. There was just all kinds of stuff going on. The fatigue was wild. And I remember feeling like I had it almost felt like some sort of pneumonia or something, like my throat would feel sore and my lungs kind of felt like similar to, when I was a kid, I did not get sick that often at all. So it was wild for me as an adult. I was like, what the heck is this? It feels like an illness that I'm not getting over. I don't know what this is. And then finally in 2013, after going on all kinds of medications that were like anti-inflammatories and things like that, I changed PCPs, primary care physicians, because I had gotten married. And I had gone to so many different doctors and specialists, and for a while I really thought I was crazy. Like I thought I was going insane, or that maybe it could be all in my head, because they couldn't find anything. Like they would draw my blood and they would say, oh, well, if it was an infection, your white blood cells would spike up, and your white blood cells aren't spiking, so it's not an infection, even though some of this stuff sounds very infectious. And the sun is getting bright and warm on my skin, and I'm sweaty, so I may have to move in a minute. Okay, still not the best lighting, but oh well. So, long story short, in October of 2013, after the onset was in 2012, I went to a new primary care physician because I had just gotten married and moved, and it was just closer to me. And this doctor, he drew some blood work. He's like, let's do an atypical pneumonia panel. So he drew this atypical pneumonia panel. Well, I went home, didn't really think much of it. I was so used to labs coming back as just, you know, nothing. Like there, no results. We don't know what's going on again. Maybe it's all in your head type of thing. So I didn't expect to get a phone call, but I got a phone call, and just previous to this, I had seen a cardiologist, and they're like, well, if it was an infection causing the pericarditis, you'd be dead by now. Like you would have had a heart attack. You probably would have been dead by now. So it's probably not an infection. Turns out, my new primary care called me, and it was the nurse at first. My doctor's nurse's name's Sue, and she called me and she's like, hey Kayla, doctor, I'm not gonna say his name, said your results for Mycoplasma pneumonia on your atypical pneumonia panel came back as positive. And then I heard all this like scrambling on the other end, and my actual doctor picked up the phone and was like, let me talk to her. I could hear him like with the nurse interacting, and he picked up the phone. He's like, Kayla, you could have a heart attack if this is let go. You need to go to the pharmacy right now and pick up your prescription, start it, keep me in the loop. We might have to do a few rounds of this stuff. So I started antibiotics, and you know, typically I'm not very much of an antibiotic fan. I had to get a lot over being so anti-antibiotic because of my condition. At the time, we still didn't know I had hypogammaglobulinemia, but we had a lead. I knew that I had Mycoplasma pneumonia. That was something that came back. Woo! There's a spider that I think may have bit me. I don't know. But anyway, I get these symptoms. I would just go and get the blood drawn and be like, okay, the Mycoplasma is still not eradicated. What's happening? Why do I keep getting this infection? Why is it not like completely clear? All this jazz. And then, you know, it took several rounds of like multiple antibiotics just to get this walking pneumonia to go away, something that normal people can just get over.